Everybody, we're going to get started in just a minute here, so everybody has a chance to get in, but thanks for joining us. All right, we'll get started in just a minute here after everyone has had a chance to join. Okay, let's get going here. Welcome everyone to our end of Q2 town hall, and thank you for joining. I'm glad you all could make it. I'm Tim Canavan. I help run the operations and customer success team here at Gridium. And before we get started, I just wanted to introduce the team that you'll be hearing from today. So if you could jump over to the next slide. All right. So we're joined by the customer success team here at Gridium. We've got Tom Arnold, our CEO and co-founder. We've got Cindy Zhu, who's our new director of customer success. Many of you know her already. She started back in March, but for those of you who don't, so it'll be a great introduction, and I'm sure we'll all talk together in the not too distant future. We've also got Pete Nelson, a senior energy analyst on the team. We have Ashley Jones, an energy analyst, Nisha LaBrue, an energy analyst, and our two energy managers, Derek Harper and Anthony Lenza. So on the next slide, here's what we've got for you today. First up, Cindy is going to cover the state of energy costs and electricity price trends and what's driving them. And then Ashley is going to walk through a California market update. From there, we're going to move into some new product features and our savings program. Pete's going to walk you through the new portfolio pages and our user guide. And Derek's going to introduce our new demand management program. After that, Nisha is going to take us through rate audits. And Anthony will cover budget season and a few reminders. And we're going to close with a Q&A. So in the meantime, feel free to enter any questions in that Q&A box on Teams, and we'll cover all of those at the end. So with that, I'll hand it over to Cindy to kick us off. Cindy, over to you.
All right, good morning, everyone. I'm Cindy Zhu, and like Tim said, I've been with Gridium since early March, so closing in on 4 months, leading the customer success team that is assembled here today. Before we get into what's new in Gridium, I want to spend a few minutes on the energy cost landscape because it's likely something that you are noticing is going up and maybe your leadership is asking about as well. These insights come from research recently published by Lawrence Berkeley National Lab. Trends are synthesized from publicly available data, review of regulatory findings, and other literature. We've linked that report here, which will be shared at the end of the webinar. If you've seen headlines about electricity prices, they're not wrong. Nominal prices are up 33% since 2019, and that's hitting customers especially hard in places like California, the Northeast, and the Mid-Atlantic. But there's a more nuanced picture as well. When you adjust for inflation, all sector average prices are actually only up about 3% since 2019. And 29 states actually saw a decline in inflation-adjusted prices over that period. That said, we're not out of the woods. Investor-owned utilities filed a record $18 billion in rate increase requests since 2025. Regulatory approvals are already underway, so we should expect additional price increases in the near term. That's exactly why staying on top of your rates and demand charges matters so much right now, which we'll talk about today. The map here really drives this home. So if you're in Hawaii, California, or the Northeast, you are already dealing with some of the highest prices in electricity in the country. Many of us on this call are probably in that camp. 75% of the US population, though, lives in states where all sector average prices are below 15 cents per kilowatt hour. But that's cold comfort if your buildings are in the other 25%. Retail price increases from 24 to 2025 outpace inflation in most states. So the trend is moving in the wrong direction for most of our customers. The trend is reflected here more severely in residential prices compared to all sector prices. So what is driving cost increases? There are several things happening at once, but let's look at the top 3 factors. First, fuel and wholesale supply costs. Natural gas prices jumped 36% in 2025 after an all-time low in 2024. That fed directly into higher generation and wholesale electricity costs for 30 states. More on how this impacts at the state level next. Second, capital expenses. Capital expenses from investor-owned utility infrastructure increased 13% in 2024 and another 22% in 2025. Building out new generation capacity is expensive, and those costs get passed directly to ratepayers. And third, both distribution and transmission cost increases are pushing retail prices higher. Berkeley Lab looked at data from 22 states where distribution costs increase retail prices just from 24 to 2025. The regions seeing the sharpest increases are the California ISO, New York ISO, and ISO New England, but PJM and the Southeast are also starting to climb. The bottom line is that there is no single smoking gun for price increases. It's a combination of fuel, capital, infrastructure costs, and other factors all moving in the same direction. Next up, I'll hand it over to Ashley to give us a peek into trends in California, where many of our customers reside, to showcase further nuances at the state level.
Thanks, Cindy. As you just heard the national picture, including those rising transmission and distribution costs, I want to add some detail on how nuanced electricity prices really are by zooming into the California market, where most of our customers are. So I'll focus on one piece, the generation or supply side. That's the wholesale cost of electricity itself. And this is also important for our direct access customers who have the option to purchase electricity closer to that wholesale level. So let's begin with the big picture. Wholesale electricity in California, the price suppliers pay before it ever reaches your bill, has dropped to some of the lowest levels in years. 2 drivers are behind this: a flood of cheap solar power during the day and natural gas that's both cheap and plentiful right now. So for the moment, prices are soft, but forward-looking trends are pointing to an increase. Next slide, please. So where are prices today? Here are a few figures to put that decrease in perspective. Wholesale electricity in Northern California has averaged about $17 per megawatt hour this spring, down roughly a third from the same stretch last year, when it ran closer to $27. Southern California is even cheaper, around $11, which is nearly half of what it was a year ago. And the prices were already sliding before spring earlier this year. So the first quarter, both regions were down somewhere between 20 and 30% versus 2025. Next slide. And how did we get here? So let's rewind 6 months. Last winter, a cold snap back east sent the national gas benchmark spiking, more than doubling in February. But that was an East Coast story. California had a mild, dry winter, so the gas burned in the state stayed cheap and electricity prices barely budged. California was the only major market that didn't see electricity rise in response. And then into spring, that spike faded, and then California solar surged, pushing prices lower still. Next slide, please. And here's how supply has gotten so cheap. For the first time, solar outproduced natural gas on the California grid over the first 5 months of the year. It beat gas in about 82% of the days, up from roughly 20% as recently as last year. Solar generation is up about 1/5, and gas is down by more than a half from 2 years ago. Batteries increasingly store that midday sun for the evening, and then cheap imports have doubled, including Pacific Northwest Hydro and some new wind from New Mexico. There's still so much daytime power that grid operators regularly have to switch solar off. More solar has been thrown away this year than in all of last year, which is what is pushing those midday prices to zero or below, especially in Southern California. Next slide, please. And here's where the rest of the world comes in and where the long-term story starts. The US now ships a record amount of natural gas overseas as LNG, which increasingly ties prices to global demand, not just local weather. We're already seeing it in California. A brand new export terminal just over the border in Mexico is pulling gas that used to flow into Southern California, nudging local prices up. And then you layer on the geopolitics, the conflict, as briefly spiked oil before it eased, and the disruption has also trimmed gas exports. Now, power in California runs on gas, not oil, so the direct hit has been small, but here's the tie to long term. Those export terminals and global buyers aren't going away. There's growing LNG demand abroad, plus power-hungry demands at home. It's putting a steadily rising floor under gas and therefore power for the years to come. That's a big reason the market's already pricing electricity for 2027 and beyond well above our current lows, even with prices near bottom right now. Next slide. So putting this together, prices for the next year or two are low, so it's a good window if you've been thinking about locking in a rate, but prices for the back half of the decade are higher because demand's expected to grow. Think more electric everything plus big power hungry data centers. Those low near-term prices today probably won't last, and the things that could flip the market are a hot summer day or a global energy shock. So that's the view from the market side. I'll hand it over to Pete, who will walk you through the new features built into the Gridium platform. Over to you, Pete.
Yeah, thanks, Ashley. Super informative. And yeah, for those of you who don't know me, I've been with the Gridium Customer Success team since 2018. And yeah, great to see some familiar names on the call. For today, I'm excited to share a few new features in the snapmeter.com app, and starting off with building notes. So notes are now available to add and view at the building level. I know we had some confusion from users of why can I not add a note while I'm looking at this screen. Now that should be eliminated. So anywhere you're viewing a load curve, you can add a note. You can still tie it to a specific meter or tie it to the building generally. And then when you're looking at the building summary, it will show up on the table at the bottom as well as on the load curve. Okay, some more exciting news that you may or may not have already noticed. Portfolio pages have launched. So these screens, I think, will look somewhat familiar that you could view before at the building level, but now they're also available as at the portfolio level as well. So using the standard navigation menu on the left, you can view your information however you want. So if you have like 10, 15 or more buildings, you can click into any app section and see that page for the whole portfolio and summary. Okay, so the first one would be the usage page. That's the next slide. And again, you'll recognize the load curve view. Here you can quickly scroll through or click back and forth through the load chart for each building. And again, you can add and view notes here as well. And then the summary table at the bottom shows the entire portfolio. Next slide combines a few different views. So this would be some of the other menus on the left: insights, info, and projects. So general metering information for each building all on one screen, and then trailing 12-month metrics. You can click choose columns to actually adjust what information you see on that screen, things like base load, total kBTU, load factor. That's all derived from the interval data. It's all available on that Insights tab. And then energy efficiency projects are summarized across the portfolio as well. The last new one is the portfolio cost page. So this new view, maybe one you won't recognize as as familiar as some of the other ones. It will let you quickly identify the buildings contributing most to overall portfolio cost. And then you can also collapse or expand the table. So even if you have like maybe several smaller buildings in the portfolio, you can kind of hide those and view everything on one screen. Okay, and if you missed anything on these new features today, or you're a new Gridium user, or you're just looking to learn a little bit more, we have a brand new user guide. It's a really great resource for learning the platform, maybe more details on specific features, how some of the analytics are derived, that type of stuff. The website is linked in the deck, but you can always click the little question mark in the top right corner of the snapmeter.com app to get to it. And just one last thing before I turn it over to Derek. All of these updates are based directly on user feedback. So please, if you have an idea for how we can improve the product, no idea is too small, let us know. We have a great product team and we're always trying to help make your lives easier. Whether that's reducing your bills, making budgeting simpler, or just interpreting one bill PDF. Yeah, we're happy to take your feedback and use that to improve the product. Please keep it coming. All right, and now I will turn it over to Derek Harper for an update on the new demand management program.
Thanks, Pete. Appreciate that. All right, so I'm going to be walking us through building demand and how those charges affect your building's electric costs. We're also launching a new demand management program inside the Gridium software, one of the first of many new savings programs through the app. So I'm going to cover three main things here: what demand charges actually are, why they matter more than most folks realize, and what Gridium is doing to help you manage those. So summer demand season is here. We've got a load curve there on the left. A demand charge is a little different than what you would normally expect your electric charges to be. Most folks think that their electric bill is driven by the volume of electricity they use. While that's partly true, there is a second component that oftentimes catches you off guard. It's not the total volume of electricity, but the single highest peak in a billing cycle, the highest amount of electricity that you were drawing from the grid at any 15-minute interval. Here's what that looks like. The chart on the left shows the electric demand profile for one of our customer buildings, and you can see those spikes that are very brief early in the morning are actually the demand peak for that building for that day, and the highest one during the week here is the highest for the month. Each time you hit a peak, you will be documented with the utility, and that sets your charge for that billing cycle. Those charges make up roughly 40% of a commercial building's electric bill. Now, summertime charges are higher. That can exceed 50 to 60% in some territories for the June through September periods. If you're spending $100,000 a year on electricity, you could be spending $40,000 just on demand. And a lot of that can be avoided. High demand does not contribute to tenant comfort. It does not contribute to equipment longevity. It's simply a symptom of equipment not optimized for cost efficiency. Demand charges are set monthly. Those rates do vary by utility, and they can vary quite a bit through time of day. Peak summer months, again, your June through September period, those are the most expensive time periods, and that is exactly why we're here today to help manage those. Next slide. So grid operators will measure demand in a few different ways. So beyond just your monthly peak demand, there are several operators that have coincident demand. Sometimes you'll hear that referred to as 4CP or 5CP, different terminology for the same concept. What the grid is trying to do is understand what your contribution is to the utilities peak for a period. So normally on your hottest afternoons in the summertime, when every building in the region is running air conditioning at the same time, the grid is going to hit their peak. When they do that, they're going to look at your building and see what your contribution is to their peak, and they will document that. In Texas and 4CP, they're going to average those together, one for each month, and then set your costs for the remainder of the year. Same thing with other Mid-Atlantic utilities where they'll do that for over 5 periods. And that is there to, one of those charges that's just going to sit on your bill, even in the wintertime. We do provide alerts for these. So if your building is subjected to these charges, we can have you set up in the system for automated alerts to give you notification when those charges are going to occur. Think of it this way. Grid hits their peak on a hot summer afternoon. You're going to have your air conditioning running at the same time. Those are the times where you really want to drive down your demand. That's reducing your static pressure set point, your supply air temperature set point. Any of the things that you can do for a brief 1 to 2 hour period will affect your bills for the next 12 months. For this, we also have a new demand management program that we're rolling out here. First, you're going to see a enrollment email. If your building qualifies, you'll receive a personalized email with a strategy tailored specifically for your building and your rate structure. It gives you one-click enrollment so you can opt in easily. Second, a demand dashboard within the Gridium software. You'll have a live view of your demand peaks and what you've saved, updated each billing period, so everything's in a centralized location. No need to go hunting through and looking at your bills. Third, and this is the one I would encourage you to work on next, is a personalized strategy that we are going to create for your building. Your component is adding in the details around your HVAC systems, your lighting controls, your building automation system, any limiting factors on your ability to manage your systems. And we can leverage that to give you a concrete set of recommendations for when and how to reduce your demand peak. The more information that you share about your building, the more specific and useful that strategy will be. We understand every building is different. We want to provide actionable insights that you can actually use versus generic recommendations. Fourth, the billing summaries for each period. After each bill, you're going to see a clear summary of what your demand peak was and how it compared to prior periods. And we're going to highlight what those savings are for you. This is just the start, but this is a great way to really manage your costs over the next year. And the summertime is really where you're going to have the biggest impact on your building's demand. Next, we've got kind of a example here is to show you what that enrollment email looks like. So you'll see what the opportunity is. The left panel gives you kind of context for the program and the specific opportunity for your building. So we ran all of your history through our analytics engine and identified some areas of opportunity for your building. We also showed you what kind of savings there could be and what percentage of reduction that we feel that your building can make. The right panel is where you'll find your personalized strategy and the link to the survey. Again, that survey is quite important. The more we know about your building equipment, especially HVAC setups, the more precise we can make these recommendations. It should only take you about 5 minutes. And really does make a difference in the quality of the output for your recommendations. If you have already received this email, that's great. Fill out the survey. It just takes a couple minutes and we will get cracking on a customized solution for you. If you've already done the survey, then we're working on a good strategy for you and we'll reach out with next steps for you. So just kind of wrapping up, summertime, it's when demand peaks hit a lot of buildings. We're here to really help you out. The demand management program is going to be a great tool in the toolbox, and we're going to be here to help walk you through some ways to drive down those costs for you. And on to Nisha for rates.
All right, next slide, please. So every year, once the new January utility rates publish, we take the prior year of data and run all of your meters through our rate engine to see if they're on the best possible rates. Now, a nice thing about this process is that it's pretty simple and low risk. No one's asking you to change how you run your buildings. As long as your operations are expected to look roughly the same as last year, switching to a better fit rate is just free savings. And a quick note, if you haven't heard from us yet about 2026 rate changes, that's good news. It means your rates are either ineligible for a change at this time or they're already on the best possible rate. If you have questions about any particular meters, please don't hesitate to reach out to your customer success rep. Now, in terms of where we stand so far this cycle, across our customer base, we've identified over $4.7 million in eligible rate opportunities for 2026 alone. So that's a lot of potential savings for no extra work. Next slide, please. So here's a common example of a rate change we see all the time. A meter on PG&E's B10 that we would recommend moving to B19. This is a Bay Area-based example, so the trade-offs in this instance exist for utilities across the country. But the trade-off here is with B19, you'll see that lower usage charge than B10, but in exchange, you'll take on a higher demand charge. And this can provide really great savings, usually in the non-summer months, for a meter with lower and more predictable demand. So you would not see a very spiky load curve. And as you can see from the charts, most meters will see some losses in summer months when demand charges are most expensive. But if we recommend this change to you, the savings you'll see in the non-summer months more than outweigh those summer losses. Next slide, please. And yeah, the last thing on rates, this is a heads up for those of you in SDG&E territory specifically, because they made some structural changes in April, which could have an impact on your budget. So as of April 1st, 2026, SDG&E automatically moved every ALTOU meter into the medium category. And they did that regardless of your actual peak demand. So that's already happened and you didn't have to do anything for that part. What happens next is that after 3 months, which will bring us to July, SDG&E will evaluate your demand and categorize your rate, either keeping you on ALTOU medium or bumping you up to large, whichever is more correct based on your demand. But here's the catch. If you're on this rate and your demand is regularly below 20 kilowatts, you actually belong on the ALTOU small rate. SDG&E will not move you there automatically. They'll keep you on medium. So you'd have to request that change for yourself, but we're happy to help you work through that process and determine your best path forward. So just to reiterate, this only affects SDG&E meters that are on the ALTOU rate. If your demand is less than 20 kW on average, there's an action item for you to request a change in July. If your demand is less than 200 kW, you'll stay on the medium rate. And if your demand is greater than 200, SDG&E will automatically put you on the large rate. It's a little new and different, but again, please reach out to us if you have any questions at all. We're here to help you. And now we will go to Anthony for reminders.
I want to close out with a few quick reminders that'll help you get the most out of Gridium heading back into the back half of the year. First, we have budget season coming up. So budget season is right around the corner, and this is one of the easiest ways Gridium can save you a headache. Instead of guessing at next year's energy spend, you can pull the forecast right out of the platform. It's built off your historical use, historical cost, and anticipated rate changes. So it's grounded for your actual building data, not just without information. In the example on the screen, you can see it's projecting expected costs for the building next year, along with approximate changes versus this year. You can download it, adjust assumptions if your operations are changing, and hand it straight to your finance team. We have step-by-step instructions linked at the link here. If you want to hand pulling these for your portfolio, reach out to your customer success manager or support@gridium.com. Next slide. A few housekeeping items. First is user management. Please help us keep your contact information current. If someone joins your team, leaves, changes roles, let us know the right people so that we have the right people that are getting alerts and reports. It only takes a minute and it makes a real difference in making sure nothing falls through the cracks. We want to get everything to you. Second, we'll be sharing these slides at the end, so you'll get all of these links and the recordings as well. And last, if you've gotten any value out of Gridium, we'd love a referral. If you know a colleague at another building, if you work with another property manager, anyone that could use the insights that we provide to you, send them our way. Next slide. That's it for formal content. So thank you all for your time. The best way to get value out of the platform is to lean on us. So reach out to us, reach out to your energy manager directly, contact us at support@gridium.com with anything else that comes up. And with that, we have a quick Q&A. I believe we only have one question so far, and that is, what's the best piece of advice for operators to manage summer demand? I believe Tim will follow up with that.
Yeah, I can jump in. That touches on a whole bunch of the things that we talked about in these slides. But first piece of advice is always just understand the rate structure that you're under, and then like what's changing in SDG&E. There's a bunch of different changing rate structures out there, and you're sort of playing a game against your utility and the energy markets with demand. And so you really need to understand where it matters the most. Do you have a monthly maximum? Is there an on-peak period? Like really just understand your rates. And that's something that our demand management program and your energy manager at Gridium can help your teams really understand. But once you understand that, then the question is, how do you operate your building in a way to play that game against the rates? And there's just a ton of opportunity out there that sometimes can be a little bit counterintuitive, but is playing that game against the rate structure so that you can drive down your costs. And we're here to help with that.
Awesome. Well, that's all we have for the Q&A.
Oh, we've got one more.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so those emails went out. The question is, when can we expect the demand program enrollment emails, the registration for those? Those emails went out to subscribers in buildings that had large demand management opportunities. If you did not see one of those, it either means that you're not subscribed to one of those emails, or your building may not have a large demand management opportunity that we identified for this summer. That does not mean that your building does not have opportunities within demand management. So I'd encourage you to reach out to your energy manager if that's an area that you're interested in. You'll also see in the software when you click on your building, so as you're navigating in the software, clicking between buildings, you'll see a little alert bar up at the top. It's a sort of lightish blue box up at the top of the screen that says you've been invited to participate in that demand management program. So when you're in the software, you'll see that the emails and some reminders on those emails have gone out within sort of the past month here, but yeah, reach out to your customer success rep about that. Any other questions? All right. Well, just want to thank everyone for taking the time to join the call today. We'll expect to do more of these more frequently to talk about new updates in the energy markets and updates within the Gridium Energy Analytics platform. But like I said, don't hesitate to reach out to your customer success rep, who's probably here on the call, and discuss your building's energy usage and how we can help you drive savings going forward. Well, thanks for joining, everyone.
Thank you. Have a good day, everyone.